Now, if you are a mid or high handicap golfer looking to upgrade your iron set in 2023, this is the video you need to watch. It's where I'm going to test 10 of the latest game improvement irons up against each other to see exactly what the differences are and how they look, how they feel, and how they perform to help you pick the best model for your game. I'm on the beautiful driving range here at Black Bear Golf Club in Florida. They hit the ball on the range. I've also hit them on the launch monitor indoors with premium golf balls to really understand the subtle differences in the performance to help you pick the best model for you. So without further ado, let's dive into the different categories, starting with the looks. Now, as you might expect from the latest game improvement irons, they all inspire confidence just through their overall size, but some have a little bit more meat behind the ball than others, and that comes down to personal preference. Some people actually get more confidence looking down at a slightly more compact head, and if that's you, you'll enjoy what you're looking down on with the Callaway Paradigm, because it's got quite a short blade length from heel to toe, but it's got a generous top line as well, so the dimensions I think will suit the eye, maybe the slightly lower handicap range, but it still does look really nice and inviting to hit and has that mirror chrome finish, which I'm not personally a fan of, but some golfers do like that. So I think that stands out for looks, especially on the shelf. I think it has a lot of pop to it, a very modern techie look to it. So that'll be one of the standout features. And if you want something that's a little bit more traditional in terms of the shape at address and also how it looks at the back, there's two that really stand out. The Mizuno JPX 923, you can see it's quite subtle on the back, but is a nice kind of profile. There's a fair amount of offset on it. But the other one I think that really stands out for me in terms of looks is this Srixon ZX4. So this is a hollow head, but they've really shrunken it down versus where it was in the previous generation, which was more of a hybrid iron. It's much slimmer, it's much more compact down behind the ball. They've really reduced the offset and the top line. And for me, as a slightly lower handicapper, this would be the one I would gravitate towards, because I think it just looks really sleek down behind the ball. Maybe not the most confidence inspiring. Obviously there are some larger sizes within this range of irons. The Cobra Aerojet is another one that's really going to inspire a lot of confidence. But for me, my favourite looking iron from the back and down behind the ball is the Srixon ZX4. Okay, so now we move on to the sound and feel of these irons, and unsurprisingly, all of them feel very lively, very explosive off the face. But I think there is some subtle differences between how they feel at impact, and I've split these into two groups of four that I've got here. I'm going to add some other ones as well. So in the kind of more lively, powerful feel section, I've got Titleist T300, the Wilson Dynapower TaylorMade Stealth Callaway Paradigm, and the Cobra Aerojet. So those are the ones that feel really fast and powerful. But if you want something a little bit more subtle in the way it sounds, these are the other ones I go for: the Yonex E-Zone GS iTech, the Mizuno JPX 923 Hot Metal, Ping G430, and the Srixon ZX4. I'm going to pick one of my favourites in each. I think for the most powerful feeling ones has to be the Wilson Dynapower. This iron is an absolute rocket ship. It is quite strong in loft, but when you hit it well, you certainly know about it, and you get rewarded with a really nice high towering flight and an awful lot of distance. Even then that was a bit thin, but it still felt really, really nice. Even low off the face and very, very long. But my favourite feeling iron, obviously I think as a slightly lower handicapper, I gravitate towards the slightly more subtle feeling irons. My favourite was the Ping G430. I just think it strikes a really nice balance of being kind of energetic off the face, but it's not too loud, and it's really, really consistent. Even if you don't quite catch it in the heel or toe, you still get that really nice feel and feedback that you're looking for on your iron shots. Hopefully you can pick that up on the microphone. Maybe a little bit louder than some of the others in that category, but as an all-round package for feel and consistency, I really like what I'm getting from the Ping G430. Okay, so moving on to the all-important performance, and as I mentioned earlier, I tested all these irons indoors on the Foresight Sports GC Quad launch monitor with Titleist Pro 1X golf balls, and I'll flash up the data on the screen now. You can click pause and see exactly how each of these irons perform. But I was also obviously observing the ball flight and the consistency and the stability of the flight here when testing outdoors, and there were some really key takeaways that I'd have with some of these irons. If you prioritise as much distance as possible, there were some standout performers in terms of ball speed and distance. They were the TaylorMade Stealth, the Cobra Aerojet, and the Wilson Dynapower. The Wilson Dynapower being the longest one out of all of them. It is fairly strong in loft, but not the strongest. In fact, despite it being slightly weaker in loft than the Cobra Aerojet, it was a little bit longer. So if you want maximum distance, it actually had some pretty good stopping power as well from the height it was getting. The Wilson Dynapower was really impressive, feels really nice, and it's just an absolute powerhouse, to be honest with you. A couple of surprise packages from me in terms of performance were the Srixon ZX4 and the Yonex E-Zone GS iTech. They were really consistent in terms of that left to right dispersion. Felt like you could throw a pretty small blanket over the shots I hit with both of those irons. Ping G430, very forgiving as well, very consistent, and also gave me a little bit higher ball flight than most of these irons on test, which again will give you good stopping power into greens. No real weakness in any of these irons. They were all pretty consistent. You see the difference in the carry distances was actually fairly small from the shortest iron to the longest iron, but for me I was really looking at how consistent and repeatable those carry distances were, and there was a standout performer in that regard. It was the Mizuno JPX 923 Hot Metal. This one was much more consistent than the others in terms of repeating those carry distances. I think the difference between my shortest shot and my longest shot on test was about 3 or 4 yards, so there really wasn't much in it. The variance in the strike didn't seem to have much impact on those carry distances either, so if you're looking for pretty good distance, it's not the longest, but if you want consistency and reliability, I think the Mizuno JPX 923 Hot Metal is the standout choice this year. So on to the overall verdict, and when it came to picking, but my favourite game improvement iron of 2023 was an awfully difficult task. I've managed to narrow it down to 4 here, which I think were slightly elevated in terms of their overall performance package than the others. They are the Ping G430, excellent consistency from that club and a really nice high towering flight. Callaway Paradigm, I love the look of this club and also how long it was pretty consistently as well. Mizuno JPX 923 Hot Metal, again very consistent, and I love the feel of it as well, not too harsh or hard, hint of softness to it, very reliable. But my favourite iron in this game improvement video for 2023 might surprise you. It's the Srixon ZX4. I love the way this looks, I love the way it feels. It's long enough but not too long. The other thing we haven't touched on with this iron is the Tor VT sole, which I think will really get you out of jail when it's wet and you're tending to catch the ground a little bit heavy. I think does increase your margin for error a little bit on your strike. Maybe less applicable here on firmer, dense turf conditions, but I think if the ground's slightly wet, you're really going to enjoy the interaction this has with the ground as well. And it was plenty forgiving as well, especially left to right dispersion. Felt like I was very much in control of where this club was going, and as a result, because of how well it looks and performs, this is my favourite game improvement iron of 2023. So that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do click the like button if you liked it. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Hopefully you found it useful in narrowing down your search. This Srixon ZX4 iron, while I think it's the best, might not be for everyone. There are some other ones that you should definitely try out head to head against each other to see which one works for your swing the best. And do let me know if you found it useful. I'd love to hear from you. But that's all from me from Black Pear Golf Club in Florida. I'll see you next time.